General Studies paper. III. Topic: Indian economy, economic growth and development, mobilization of resources. Q. Critically examine India's achievement in creation of jobs and elimination of corruption during last 3 years. 200 words. The Indian Express introduction. Since the change in government at center, the hopes for job creation and elimination of corruption were high. Achievements in job creation. The Labor Ministry survey found 2.75 lakh jobs created between July and December 2014, the 118% year-on-year increase in the same period in 2013. Just over 1.2 lakh jobs had been created. Given the government's Make in India initiative focuses on creating jobs in 25 sectors, the rise in employment numbers are an indication of a good beginning. Many schemes like Startup India, Stand Up India, Mudra Yojana, Skill India has been initiated to create more jobs. However, on the other side, in the last 3 years, job creation has not been particularly shining. Some data, for example those of the Labor Bureau for a select number of mainly labor-intensive industries, show even the job decline. Only 1.35 lakh jobs were created in calendar year 2015. The pace of job creation has been on a steady decline since 2011, when 9.3 lakh jobs were created. In particular, regular formal sector jobs, which is what the aspirational youth hanker after as they leave the low productivity jobs in agriculture, have remained a tiny proportion of the total employment. The backlog of surplus workers, as estimated in the Indian Employment Report 2016 on the basis of national sample survey data, exceeds 50 million workers. Achievements on corruption. Since the 2014 government has taken many steps to reduce the menace of corruption. Cleaning up of political funding by putting the Rs. 2000 cap on cash donations to parties. www.insightsanindia.com 6 www.insightsas.com. Blocking the Mauritius, Singapore and Cyprus channels used for rerouting of black money with signing DDTA with them. Demonetization, which has strengthened the hands of the common citizen and the government in the fight against corruption, terror funding, Naxalism, human trafficking, black money and counterfeit notes. Legal provisions like the Benami Transaction Law, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, emphasis on e-governance, transparency and accountability. Example: allocation of 82 coal blocks through a transparent auction that has generated an income of Rs. 5 lakh crore, as well as spectrum auctions. However, the efforts were not much effective and sufficient. There have been gigantic Payapam scandal, the Elite Modi scandal in states where central party ruled. Political parties have been exempt from RDI and retrospectively from FCRA. The attempts at so-called reform in the form of election bonds have made matters even less transparent. The transparent auctioning are being criticized, as with the international mining boom over, there is now less money to be made in these sectors. What was the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, 2016 enacted? Discuss the merits and demerits of this law as pointed out by various critics. 200 words. The Hindu They and Us, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, 2016, was enacted by the Parliament, with an eye on resolving the festering problem of rising number of insolvencies and bankruptcies, at a time when a legal and institutional framework was lacking. Some of the other reasons: 1. To address the problem of rising non-performing assets. 2. To improve the ease of doing business. 3. To ensure certainty in the market regarding business decisions. 4. To help improve trust between the creditors, i.e. the banks and financial institutions, and the debtors, i.e. the corporate firms. Merits: 1. Overhaul laws relating to reorganization and insolvency resolution of corporate persons, partnership firms, and individuals. 2. Separate insolvency resolutions, highlighted in the code for individuals, companies and partnership firms. 3. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board, which will exercise regulatory oversight over insolvency professionals IP and oversee insolvency proceedings. 4. Timely identification and speedy resolution of assets if viable. 5. Resolution plan within 180 days. The onus is on professionals to put forth resolution plans within 180 days. 6. Ensures creditors and debtors stick to code's mechanisms. Seeks to ensure that there is neither scope for any further claims by the creditors, except through the code's mechanisms, nor for the corporate debtor to challenge the claims made by the creditor. This may be a positive in some cases. Demerits. 1. Not enough done to protect right of companies. The code accepts the unquestionable word of the creditors at various stages of admission of the insolvency proceedings, of appointing the IB, of finalizing the resolution plan. The code fails to provide any opportunity to the corporate debtor to make a representation. This may be a negative in some cases. www.insightsanindia.com 7 www.insightsays.com 2. Code does not provide qualifications of IP. The code is deficient in providing the yardstick for the qualification of the interim and the final insolvency resolution professionals. 3. Concerns for confidentiality obligations. The code allows access to the information memorandum put together by the IP without restricting competitor or imposing any confidentiality obligations. Must be noted that there is no law protecting confidentiality and vitiates the fundamental right to business under Article 19(1)(g). 4. Code prohibits withdrawal of the application. Already challenged. La Condola Qataria Construction P. Limited v. Nisus Finance and Investment Managers LLP 2017, wherein a settlement proposal was taken on record by Supreme Court and the appeal was disposed of. However, this cannot be held as a precedent. Conclusion. In short, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code does indicate the government's resolve to address the issue of rising levels of stagnant key in credit flow and productive investment due to the ongoing state of health of the business firms. But code still requires a lot of hand-holding by the judiciary to put in place adequate safeguards and guidelines to ensure its smooth, effective, and fair enforcement. As the law is in its nascent stage, teething problems are bound to occur and government should effectively amend it as per the exigency arisen, else the law will become a dead wood. Q. How will farm loan waivers impact the Indian economy? Examine 200 words. Live even recent incidents. In its policy statement released last week, the Monetary Policy Committee MPC of the Reserve Bank of India RBI pointed out that the implementation of farm loan waivers across states could hurt the finances of states and make them throw good money after bad, and stoke inflation. Impacts of loan waivers on economy. 1. Loan waivers could reduce aggregate demand by as much as 0.7% of GDP, imparting the significant deflationary shock to an economy. It is estimated that for states with fiscal space, loan waivers would add about Rs 6,350 crore to demand via the additional interest costs. For states without such space, waivers could reduce demand by about Rs 1.9 lakh crore. 2. Loan waiving leads to disruption of credit discipline of state economies, which has already burdened a fiscal deficit. The culture of subsidy and loan waiving has spillover effect as the further demands on free water and electricity also rises and get publicized. According to market economists, waiving off farm loan would create unnecessary fiscal stress and give wrong signal about reform. 3. There is big challenge of by exclusion errors in loan waiver scheme, as according to CAD 13.46% of the accounts are not eligible for loan waiving. Inefficiency of MFIs in identifying actual beneficiaries needs to be corrected in order to avoid wastage of exchequer's money. 4. Loan waiving adds up to the non-performing assets of the banks. Outstanding agricultural loan types of bank. Outstanding loan amount I commercial banks Rs 9.57 lakh crore. II regional rural banks Rs 1.45 lakh crore. II cooperative banks Rs 1.57 lakh crore. 5. Loan waiving is generally declared by political parties for electoral gains. The very purpose of waiving is unjustified and it needs a review of overall waiving process. 6. The extreme case of 50% farm debt waiver should raise concerns, as it will worsen states' debt to GDP ratio by 4 percentage points on average. This will jeopardize India's stated aim to reduce its total public debt, center and states combined, to 60% of the GDP. 7. Interest payments of states are already quite high, and often eclipse their spending on important infrastructure areas such as roads and irrigation. Over the long run, the increased interest burden due to higher debt will hit state finances. www.insightsanindia.com 8 www.insightsays.com 8. In many areas, the vested interests are getting satisfied by diverting the loan money for some other purposes other than agriculture. Borrowers often turn into willful defaulters, hoping their loans will be waived in next elections. at the same time benefiting rich farmers more than poor ones. It also undermines the morality of honest farmers who repay their debts timely. Arguments in favor of loan waiving. 1. As a monsoon rains are highly erratic, the small and marginal farmers left with no means of livelihood in case of monsoon failure. 2. The very nature of Indian agriculture makes the act of loan waiving as essential tool for social security. A large number of small and marginal farmers with inability to capital investment makes loan waiver a social compulsion. According to NCRB report, debt and bankruptcy are behind 80% of farmers' suicides, hence making loan waiving a welcoming move to combat the distressful situation of rising farmers' suicides. 3. Lack of common market and assurance of guaranteed income makes farmers vulnerable to economic challenges. 4. A large number of farmers are moving out of the agriculture and entering into distress employment that further creates pressure on employment in other sectors of economy. Every hour, according to Census 2011, around 100 farmers are giving up agriculture and at least one farmer is committing suicide. Conclusion: waiving of loans should be done only in the most exceptional circumstances. Waiving of loans of farmers has helped the farmers save from many untoward incidents. Instead of waiving loans, GOVD should focus on increasing the output of the farmers, which in turn would generate more income for the farmers. Waiving of loans is a short-term solution and may not solve the problem fully. There is need to focus more towards advancement of agriculture sector by schemes like Pradhan Mantri Krishi Vikas Yojana, PM Devasabama Yojana, promote research and development in agriculture. Q. In the light of 70 years of India's independence, critically comment on India's record in establishing itself as a strong economic and security state. 200 words. The Hindu They and Us. India became independent after disaster of Second World War and amid waves of anti-colonialism. But that independence was questioned by many political pundits who were skeptical over the efficacy of democracy in India amid such huge diversity and differences perceived during independence movement among various groups of society. But after 70 years, India as a country not only is intact but have strengthened. In this journey, India's achievement in economy have been self-sufficiency in food production, big infrastructure projects to ensure electricity and irrigation needs, growth of banking sector with robustness, private sector well amalgamated after 1991 reforms, India, 6th largest economy nominal and 3rd largest PPP, failures, farmer crisis, suicides, lack of infrastructure, jobless growth, as service sector led growth, double balance sheet problem, manufacturing sector did not grow with requisite pace, growing poverty and rich poor divide. www.insightsinIndia.com 9 www.insightsays.com. Security: India is now a responsible nuclear state to ward off any serious security threat. Space research has collaborated well with defense and military efforts to protect India. Solved border issues with Bangladesh land swapping agreement. Porous borders problem, more deployment of forces and ICD with neighbors like Myanmar, Bhutan and Nepal. Internal issues like nationalism, secessionist tendencies were handled quite efficiently, e.g. SAM ADHA strategy. Communal violence was handled well with harmony. Failures, whether in organizing appropriate weapons supply, developing our internal infrastructure or in ensuring effective management, our defense situation suffers from cumulative amateurishness and neglect. Lack of technological advancements, slow pace of modernization as well as indigenization of war equipments, weaponry. Terrorism still a major threat, with unresolved disputes with Pak and China. Issues such as Naxalite movement, hatred, currency trafficking have created rift in the social integrity. Conclusion: thus, though India has been successful to be largest democracy in the world and emerging economy, she needs to achieve much more to establish herself as a strong security